Hi everybody, I'm Adrienne Floreen, and this is Dining with Adrienne Floreen. Today, I'm at Boiling Avenue in Sacramento, California. This is the inside of the restaurant. This is the restaurant's bathroom. We are about to try this restaurant, which said that their vegan hot pot is gluten-free. However, if I can see that flashing light from where I'm sitting, I will not be able to eat here. We are now inside this restaurant. They told me the only thing that's gluten-free is the vegetarian hot pot, that I have to order it without the corn, and that none of their hot pots with meat can be made gluten-free. They also told me that their milk tea is sweetened with fructose from corn. So I can't have any sweetened milk tea. This is the inside of the restaurant. And these are the bowls they brought us. They're both chipped, if you can't tell. This is the restaurant's bathroom. My only complaint, other than the two overflowing trash pails, like seriously people, have one trash pail and change it frequently enough, is that the sink only has cold water and it doesn't have knobs. It's one of those annoying things that you press that doesn't stay on long enough to wash your hands, causing you to have to press it again while there is soap on your hands. Employees must wash their hands before returning to work. I think the California Health Code requires that they do that in hot water for a certain amount of time. See, I want to rinse my finger after even touching that greasy thing. I don't think that is the legal amount of time that employees are required to wash their hands fully before returning to work. Now I have to explain to you what's happened already since I came into this restaurant. I came into this restaurant and I said, is there anywhere where I can sit where I don't see that strobe light? The guy was like looking at me blankly like he didn't know what I meant, so I said, that flashing light, that one right there. He led me to a seat. He said I could sit in a way where the light would be behind my back. But it was like kind of behind my back, but like it's coming from this direction so I could see it out of the corner of my eye. So then he was like, well, I guess there's nothing we can do to help you. So I was about to leave the restaurant, even though I'm like nearly throwing up from not having eaten all day and I just need to eat some warm, solid food. And then I realized that I could sit in this booth right here. And as you can see, you can't see the light because it's kind of around the corner. So I sat down in this booth, said this was great, and when I leaned back, I screamed. My back went right into this ridge. It hit me right in the place where my spine has been injured since I was a child, and anything that pokes me right there in my spine, even something soft, is like excruciatingly painful. So I leaned back against this and literally felt like I was being poked in the spine with a knife. I screamed. Then the guy came over and he said he just wanted to let me know that the hot pots are cooked over a flame on the table and the flame flickers, and he wanted to make sure that wouldn't bother me before I ordered it. And I said, do you know what a strobe light is? A strobe light is a strobe light. A strobe light can trigger seizures. A strobe light can trigger migraines. A flame is not a strobe light. A flame is a flame. And then he said, one thing I really hate hearing when I complain about something, nobody else has ever had a problem with that light before. So I had to say, well, even if nobody else has had a problem with it before, that light is a health hazard. That could cause seizures even in people who've never had them before. So apparently they don't think their light is a health hazard. I think that light should not be in front of a business, we were actually not even able to see that this was the restaurant because we saw that flickering light and like looked away, and the rest of the parking lot was very dark, and then we were like, oh, we're right in front of it, probably because the strobe light was already messing with our heads. Anyway, we are now here. We are now about to eat. Thank goodness. At least they're playing some somewhat decent dubstep. And no, the lights at raves don't bother me because they go out of their way to make sure they're not a seizure-inducing strobing frequency. I guess I'll let them know on their Facebook and Instagram what I think of their flickering strobe light.
What is the red? So, is that Instagram?
I think so. I only came to this restaurant because after shopping at Ikea for hours and eating a piece of Ikea's gluten-free chocolate cake, I had such severe heartburn that I could not drive, and I just had to find some kind of restaurant where I could eat something warm, like a soup. And this is like the only thing I could find in Sacramento at like nearly 11 o'clock at night. You guys, I'm letting you know that you should be able to make crab, shrimp, clam, crawfish, pork, beef, all gluten-free. Why can't any of those things be gluten-free? Just don't add whatever sauce you're adding to them that contains gluten. Chicken. Chicken can be gluten-free. Lamb. Lamb can be gluten-free as well. You could make all of your soups gluten-free if you wanted to. It wouldn't be hard, it would be easy, just omit an ingredient. If anyone else is interested, here's the rest of their menu. It seems like it's the same page again.
For the shells, but it's also something that you can use if you don't want something as well, okay?
Okay. That's the employee that told me their light had never bothered anyone before. And offered to seat me in a place where I could see it out of the corner of my eye. You're supposed to let it boil for a few minutes, and then the noodles cook in seconds when you pour hot water over them. I had to ask for a fork and a spoon because normally I can eat with chopsticks, but these have a texture that makes them impossible to grip. It's rough and sharp feeling, uncomfortable to the touch. Whenever we tried to take the noodles out of the dish, it was almost impossible without them going on the table. I asked for a plate wide enough to catch them so they didn't touch table, so we weren't losing half of our noodles. And they bought these little bowls. I had to ask for something even wider. We got these bigger bowls. Still no plate. These are actually the two best things in the hot pot. They're like these little bundles of noodles that come in a bundle pre-cooked that you add to hot pots. I forget what they are called, but I have eaten them at home. The one thing I didn't do yet is try their hot sauce. Is there a spoon that hasn't been dunked into food yet? I thought I had a spoon. What happened to my spoon? I don't know. I'm going to try it on a chopstick. It's supposed to be habanero hot sauce that's gluten-free and corn-free. That's the weirdest hot sauce I've ever eaten. No salt at all, but it's pure fire. It's just like... It tastes like habanero peppers ground up in water. They gave us like 5 napkins. I'm gonna need like 50 after eating that to blow my nose like 100 times. Let's just go to the bathroom. Don't hand me your last napkin. It was like one of the spiciest things I've ever put in my mouth in my entire life. My eyes are tearing. That's really good. I'm gonna ask them to pour some of that into a to-go container for me. It was just shocking. I did not expect it to be that spicy. I am now leaving the restaurant, and look what is not behind me. I think that my complaining might have had some kind of an effect. I was also posting pictures on Facebook and telling people with migraines and epilepsy to avoid this restaurant. That might have also had an effect, but as you can see, the horrible flickering light has been turned off. Or maybe they changed the bulb. Either way, if they were able to do that, I wish they had simply just done it when I first entered the restaurant, because their light nearly drove me out of the building. All in all, that was probably the most horrible hot pot I've ever had in my entire life. The only thing that was redeeming about that restaurant was that their hot sauce was like probably the spiciest hot sauce I've ever tasted. And if I knew it was going to be like that, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Because I didn't know it was like that, I started to have the horrible reaction I have to hot sauce sometimes, where I started to cough up massive amounts of phlegm and my nose started running excessively, and I had to keep asking for napkins as they brought me like 4 or 5 at a time. Finally, my dad said, "Can you just bring us like a huge amount of napkins?" And then I apologized because there was like a huge pile of like spit into and sneezed into napkins on their table. Excuse me. It's starting to happen again. And I threw them in the garbage pail and told the waiter I was doing it so he wouldn't think I was the disgusting person that left a bunch of dirty napkins at their table. If I was the owner of that restaurant, I would permanently remove the flickering light, sand down the wood in that bench so it doesn't have a ridge that sticks out and pokes people in the back, and slice the vegetables in a way where they all cook at the same rate. Like, some of our vegetables turned to mush while others were still not cooked after it boiled for 20 minutes. Things like carrots take much longer to cook than taro root. So slice the carrots really thinly and put really big pieces of taro root in, and then they'll cook in the same amount of time. Or offer your customers bowls that are big enough to take out all the carrot right when it's done, because their little tiny bowls weren't big enough to take out all of the vegetables that were done and starting to turn to mush. So I had to ask them to put the flame out, even though some of my vegetables were still too raw to eat, because others were turning to mush. So that is what I would change if I worked at that restaurant. Oh yeah, the noodles. The noodles need to be on a wide plate with a serving utensil that you can use to get them off of the plate into the bowl without them touching the table. That seemed to be a big issue. They didn't seem to understand that there was no way to get the noodles out of one bowl into the other bowl without them touching the table. So I would make sure the employees understand that people don't want their food dragged across the table, even if the table's been cleaned. What's it been cleaned with? Cleaner? It hasn't been like washed with soap and rinsed under water like the dishes have. So that is what I would change if I owned the restaurant. And maybe turn the music down a notch or two. Not everybody wants their ears blasted off while they're eating dinner. Anyway, I cannot really recommend that restaurant, but I can recommend that you watch my other episodes of Dining with Adrienne Floreen, because even though I've eaten at a lot of horrible restaurants and I often have bad experiences, they're usually not as bad as that. Bye.